Yeah, so the next thing Russell addresses is the nature of matter. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to prove or rationally prove the experience that he has of the sense data to other people, like that, to demonstrate that there's an objective reality to the sense data, to corroborate his sense data. And so it's not a matter of whether or not you experience it, it's how do you prove that the experience is valid to other people. And so you have to appeal to some public forum, some public objective forum. And so what he's doing is he's trying to reason through our sense data regarding the material world and science. And so what he does is he starts off, and it's a lot of really interesting and accurate reasoning that he does here, and our goal is not to cover all of that. Encourage you to read the book, but to just simply to show how in the process of doing this, he is appealing to a superior worldview, a higher hierarchy, as he mentioned, a hierarchy of objective truths and rational laws and uniformities and harmonies of belief that makes sense of what you experience. And so he starts off trying to justify through science that light and sound and heat are, from what science explains, are experienced through wave motion. Light waves and heat waves, sound waves. These wave motions that we experience, our sense data are generated from these wave motions that come from the objective world, according to the scientific approach. And so he's making the observation that there are the objective material realities, and then there are the communication of these light and sound and heat waves that are communicated to us through wave motions that we don't sense. We don't sense the wave motions. We just sense the experience of our sense data of the object. And so what he would classify as the objective, real material world of science, what science wants to identify and measure and understand, is what would be considered the real world, the objective world. So, for example, if you're looking at a coin, well, the real objective coin would be round, but depending upon our angle, our sense data would perceive it as oval or flat or whatever. And so there's that sense data. There's the light waves that come to us from the coin. And then there's the real coin and its objective status in the material world. And so he also observes the fact that space is another thing that we experience, but the space that we experience is not the same as the space that the matter occupies. So matter occupies a point in space and time, and what we experience of space is not the same as the space that it occupies. So there's a real objective space, a public space, if you will, that can be analyzed by other people. And so this is the objective reality they're trying for, they're reaching for. And so all these things seem to be associated with their sense data. And I wanted to bring in a quote that actually Einstein uses of Russell, one of Russell's quotes. I'll put it up for you to read in its entirety. And this is what's relevant to us as presuppositionalists, that the objective real world is forced into subjectivity. This subjectivized, science becomes subjectivized. And so Einstein mentions that our senses give us this idea of what he calls naive realism, that reality exists, that grass is green, the sun is hot, the stones are hard, the snow is cold. But science tells us that the greenness of the grass is not that the grass is green, but it's the effect that the light and the grass have upon our sense data. And the same thing with the rock, the hardness and the coldness of the snow and whatnot, that it's ultimately trying to be objective, but it's forced into subjectivity. He says science is plunged into subjectivity against its will. So ultimately, if we don't start with the objective nature of God as a necessary foundation for thought and for the external world, and we have to start with our own nature, our own self, and build up on that foundation, that ends in ultimate skepticism. Everything is plunged into subjectivity. And so objectivity, the material world that scientists are reaching for so drastically, is just out of their reach always because of subjectivity. So scientists and philosophers, somebody said scientists are basically just philosophers that are in more detail, that they're more detail oriented and concerning individual things. Somebody else said the only difference between a philosopher and a scientist is that the scientist learns more and more about less and less until he finally knows everything about nothing. But a philosopher is somebody who learns less and less about more and more until he finally knows nothing about everything. So, anyway.